11 masculine traits women secretly desire but never admit. Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets, the place where timeless wisdom meets the modern challenges of manhood. What if I told you that the most magnetic force a man can ever project has nothing to do with money, looks, or social status? The truth is, it goes much deeper. It's not about what he owns or what he says, it's about how he carries himself. Most men never realize this. They spend years chasing women, showering them with gifts, compliments, and grand gestures. They work tirelessly to prove they're worthy. But here's the painful paradox. The harder they try to win her over, the faster she drifts away. Maybe you've been there yourself, pouring out your time, bending over backward, hoping to spark desire, only to watch the flame die out. Here's the cold reality. Women aren't drawn to constant effort or desperate approval. They're pulled towards something far more subtle, yet infinitely more powerful. It's not about doing more, it's about being more, about embodying an energy she can feel even before you speak. The ancient Stoics understood this truth centuries ago, long before modern psychology gave it a name. They knew that power, presence, and restraint are magnetic. A woman isn't drawn to the man who tries the hardest, she's drawn to the man who simply is. And today, that's exactly what we're going to uncover. The #1 masculine trait women secretly crave, the force that makes them feel attraction beyond reason. More importantly, I'll share 5 practical ways to live it out daily so you never again wonder why your efforts fall flat. But before we dive in, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below with your name, where you're from, and the biggest challenge you're facing in relationships right now, because here we rise together. Now, take a breath, get grounded, and let's begin the journey.
1. Stop apologizing for existing. Let's dive right in with the first shift you must make. Stop apologizing for simply existing. Too many men weaken their presence with 2 small words they use far too often. I'm sorry. Not because they've done real harm, but because they've been trained to soften themselves, to seek permission just to take up space. Here's the unspoken truth. Every needless apology doesn't make you look kind, it makes you look uncertain. And nothing kills attraction faster than insecure energy. Think about the man who constantly says, "Sorry, is this okay?" Or "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt." What he's really communicating is doubt about his own value. He's not standing in his presence, he's begging for acceptance. Women don't desire that energy. At best, they tolerate it. At worst, they sense weakness and, consciously or not, lose respect for it. Picture this. Mark, a 30-year-old financial analyst, has everything going for him on paper. He's smart, fit, and ambitious, but on every date, his words are sprinkled with apologies. When the waitress offers dessert, he shrugs and says, "Oh, sorry, I don't eat sugar." When he shares a book he enjoyed, he adds, "Sorry if this sounds silly."
By the end of the night, his date doesn't walk away feeling excited. She walks away remembering his hesitation, his lack of certainty. Later, when she talks to her friends, she says, "He's nice, but I just didn't feel that spark." Why? Because Mark's constant smoothing over forced her to take the lead. And deep down, that is not the energy that ignites desire. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Real presence doesn't apologize for itself. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about bulldozing through people or refusing to admit when you're wrong. True strength owns mistakes. But there's a massive difference between accountability and compulsive apologizing. Accountability says, "Yes, I made a mistake. I'll fix it." Over-apologizing says, "I'm sorry for taking up space. I'm sorry for being me." One builds respect. The other slowly erodes it. So how do you break free from this habit?
Start noticing the tiny moments when sorry wants to slip out, when you ask a question, share an opinion, or even just stand tall. Then, replace it with strength. Instead of, I'm sorry I'm late, say, thanks for waiting. Instead of, I'm sorry to bother you, say, do you have a moment? These subtle shifts may seem small, but they transform how people feel around you. She won't consciously think, wow, he doesn't over-apologize, but she'll feel the difference. She'll sense your calmness, your certainty, and your masculine self-respect. Here's your first challenge. Drop a comment below with the phrase, I own my space. Let it be your declaration that from today forward, you will no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Because when you stop apologizing for existing, you step into a quiet power that women instinctively crave, a power the ancient Stoics recognized as the foundation of true masculinity. 2. Lead, don't chase. Now that you've stopped apologizing for existing, it's time to embrace the next shift. Stop chasing women, start leading your life. This is one of the biggest mistakes men make. We've been told that if we like a woman, we need to pursue her endlessly, send the first text, plan every date, rearrange our schedule to fit hers. We believe that if we just try hard enough, she'll eventually see our value. But here's the paradox. The harder you chase, the faster she pulls away. Why? Because chasing radiates insecurity. It's the silent message that says, I'm not enough on my own, so I must convince you to choose me. It puts her in control and you in the position of proving yourself. Imagine this. Ethan, a 29-year-old engineer, meets Sarah, a vibrant, fun woman who instantly captures his attention. He is excited and a little nervous, so he goes all in. He texts her good morning every day. He plans elaborate dates. He subtly tries to read her mood and adjusts himself constantly to keep her happy. At first, Sarah enjoys the attention, but soon, something shifts. She begins to feel pressured, like his entire happiness depends on her response. Her attraction starts to fade, not because Ethan is a bad guy, but because his chasing tells her he doubts his own worth.
By week 3, Sarah cancels plans more often. By week 4, she's gone. Ethan is left confused, asking himself, what did I do wrong? I gave her everything. The truth? He didn't need to do everything. He needed to be someone she could follow. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, no man is free who is not master of himself. When you chase, you're enslaved, not to her, but to her attention. Your mood rises and falls with every text, every call, every glance. You are no longer living your own life. You're reacting to hers. But when you lead, everything changes. Leading doesn't mean control. It means you set the direction. You create a vision for your life and invite her to join you without needing her to say yes. You walk your path with purpose, whether she comes along or not. Here's how it looks in practice. Instead of nervously asking, when are you free to hang out? You say, I'm checking out a new place Thursday at 8. You're welcome to join. Notice the difference? One is begging for approval. The other is an invitation into your world. If she says yes, great. If she says no, you go anyway. This subtle shift in energy is magnetic. She senses that you're a man who knows where he's going, and women are naturally drawn to that steady, grounded presence. But leadership goes beyond planning dates. It's also about emotional leadership. When she brings chaos or drama, you don't get swept up in the storm. You remain calm and steady, like a lighthouse in a raging sea. Your grounded energy sends a powerful message. No matter what happens around me, I do not lose myself. This doesn't just attract her, it earns her respect. Because deep down,
every woman wants to feel safe enough to relax into her feminine energy. Here's a wake-up call. Stop asking, how do I make her like me? Start asking, how do I create a life so compelling that she naturally wants to be part of it? When you lead instead of chase, you eliminate scarcity thinking. You stop obsessing over one person's approval and start living from a place of abundance and purpose. Your challenge is this. The next time you feel the urge to chase, pause and ask yourself, am I leading or am I reacting? If you're reacting, shift immediately. Step back, breathe, and reconnect with your path. Because women may never say it out loud, but they can feel the difference between a man who leads and a boy who chases. Lock it in by dropping a comment below, I lead my life. Make it your vow that today chasing ends and true leadership begins. 3. Attraction without need. Most men never realize this truth until it's too late. Nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. The moment a woman feels that your happiness depends on her, the spark begins to fade. Neediness is like a heavy fog. It smothers the very fire you're trying to ignite. It shows up in subtle ways, checking your phone every few minutes, overanalyzing her texts, or rearranging your entire life to gain her approval. You might think these actions prove your love, but to her, they communicate one thing: pressure. And pressure suffocates desire. When a woman feels that you need her, not just want her, she begins to pull back. Because deep down, she doesn't want to be your oxygen. She wants to be the flame that burns brighter because you already breathe freely. This principle isn't new. The ancient Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your greatest ambition is simply to win a woman's approval, you've already diminished yourself. But if your ambitions are growth, mastery, and living fully, you radiate a different kind of energy. And that energy is magnetic. Let's bring this to life with a story. David, a 32-year-old architect in Chicago, met Emma at a friend's dinner party. The chemistry was instant, undeniable. At first, everything flowed naturally. They laughed, they connected, they planned dates without effort. But soon, David fell into a trap he didn't even see coming.
To David, these words were a cry for comfort. To Emma, they were chains of expectation. The more pressure she felt, the more her desire suffocated. Within weeks, the magic was gone, and so was she. But here's the twist. When David realized his mistake, he didn't chase after her. He turned inward. He reconnected with his passions, designing a new project at work, hitting the gym, and spending time with friends. His energy shifted from needing Emma to simply enjoying life as himself. And what happened? Emma noticed. When she reached out again, it wasn't because David begged. It was because his calm confidence made her curious. The man who once clung now stood strong, and she couldn't look away. Here's the Stoic lesson. Women aren't drawn to men who see them as the missing piece of their life. They're drawn to men who are already whole, who see women as an addition, not their foundation. True confidence says, I'd love for you to be here, but I don't need you to be. That balance of desire without dependence creates a magnetic pull that no amount of chasing can replicate. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel the urge to double text, over-explain, or bend your life to please her, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting from genuine desire or from a hunger for validation? If it's validation, stop. Refocus on your path. The more complete you are within yourself, the more naturally she will lean toward you. Your challenge for today? Drop a comment below with the words, I need nothing. Let it be your reminder that attraction thrives not when you cling,
but when you stand complete. Because when you release the need, you unlock a freedom that women instinctively crave, and that freedom is the root of timeless Stoic strength. 4. Interest, not approval. Here's a truth that most men never see coming. Approval and attraction are not the same thing. Many men believe that if she compliments their jokes, says they're sweet, or gives them polite smiles, it must mean she's falling for them. But the reality is far different. Approval lives on the surface. It's safe, polite, and shallow. Attraction, on the other hand, lives in the depths, in a place of tension, curiosity, and raw emotion. When you chase approval, you're not building desire. You're basically holding out a sign that says, "Please tell me I'm good enough." It's like handing over the keys to your value and asking her to decide who you are. That energy doesn't draw her in, it pushes her away. Imagine a first date. The man senses a little silence, so he starts performing like a circus act. More jokes, more stories, more drinks. He watches her reactions like a hawk, and every time she looks bored, he scrambles to adjust. She might laugh, she might smile politely, but when she goes home, she doesn't think about him at all. Why? Because he gave her approval energy instead of attraction energy. He was too focused on being liked rather than being magnetic. Now, let's flip the script. Picture another man on the same date. He doesn't desperately try to impress her. He stays calm, curious, and playful. He asks her real questions and listens, not to get points, but because he's genuinely interested in who she is. If she seems distracted, he doesn't panic. If there's a pause, he lets it breathe. This man isn't trying to win her approval because he doesn't need it. Instead, he's sparking her curiosity. He's saying through his energy, "Here I am. Can you keep up?" That's the difference between approval and interest. One is safe and forgettable. The other is alive and unforgettable. The Stoics understood this dynamic long before modern psychology. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, stop living your life through the eyes of others. Stop seeking applause and start seeking authenticity. The same applies to relationships. You don't need to shapeshift to match her moods. You don't need to chase her validation. Instead, you create moments of connection so real, so raw, that she feels something she can't explain. This is why so many men get confused when they hear phrases like, "You're so nice," "You're really sweet." To them, these sound like wins, but to her, they're just surface-level approval. She's being polite, but not passionate. Nice is safe. Nice never keeps her awake at night thinking about you. Nice never creates fire. Interest, however, does. Interest has polarity, tension, and an edge of danger. It's what makes her heart race and her mind wonder what's coming next. So, how do you create interest instead of chasing approval?
By standing firmly in who you are. By sharing your perspective, even if she doesn't agree. By showing her a world she wants to be part of, not a version of yourself that exists just to please her. Here's a practical example. Instead of saying, "Do you like this restaurant?" you say, "This place has the best steak in the city. Wait until you try it." One seeks approval, the other creates an experience. Here's your wake-up call. If you find yourself constantly trying to win her over, stop and ask, am I looking for her approval or am I creating interest? When you stop performing, you free her to lean in naturally. When you stop asking, am I enough, and start declaring, this is who I am, you ignite something deeper. Because women aren't moved by compliance. They're moved by presence, by a man who radiates his value without needing her to confirm it. Lock this lesson in by dropping a comment below. I choose interest. Let it be your promise that from today forward, you'll stop begging for approval and start embodying the energy that naturally draws women closer. 5. Calm desire wins. Most men believe that attraction is like a roaring fire, loud, bright, and impossible to ignore. So they turn up the volume. Louder jokes, flashier clothes, constant energy. They think the more they show their desire, the more she'll feel it too. But here's the truth. Flames that burn too hot burn out fast. What truly lasts, the kind of connection that lingers long after the first touch, isn't frantic or chaotic. It's built on calm desire. Calm desire is the quiet confidence that says, I want you, but I don't need to consume you. It's attraction without desperation. It's the ability to feel deeply while staying steady, balanced, and in control of yourself. And that, my friends, is magnetic in a way few men ever master. Consider Michael, 35, sitting across from Hannah on their second date. His palms sweat. His words rush out in a tumble. He laughs too loudly, interrupts her sentences, and fidgets with his drink. Michael believes his enthusiasm proves how much he likes her. But to Hannah, it doesn't feel exciting. It feels like pressure. And pressure suffocates attraction. Now, imagine a different version of Michael. He slows down. He allows pauses in the conversation instead of scrambling to fill them. His gaze is steady but relaxed. He listens more than he talks, leaning back with quiet focus instead of bouncing nervously from topic to topic. In this version, Hannah senses something different. Instead of tension, she feels ease. Instead of chaos, she feels safe. This is the power of calm desire. Calm desire shows her you value her, but you aren't defined by her response. It communicates strength without needing to control the outcome. When you move with this energy, you send a clear, unspoken message. I am grounded in who I am. Whether you choose me or not, I remain whole. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." This applies perfectly to relationships. A calm mind is attractive because it represents stability, and stability is rare in today's chaotic world. While others are frantic, seeking constant validation, you stand still like a mountain, and women are naturally drawn to that kind of strength. Here's why calm desire works so powerfully. When you flood a woman with too much attention, she doesn't have the space to feel anything for you. It's like drowning a fire with water. You smother it. But when you create space, you allow curiosity and mystery to grow. A single glance, a thoughtful pause, a slow, steady touch. These moments ignite far more passion than 1,000 frantic words ever could. Think back to a time when someone captivated you without saying much. It wasn't what they did, it was the energy they carried. That's what calm desire feels like. So, how can you embody this in your life? Slow down. Don't rush conversations or interactions. Breathe. When you feel anxious, focus on your breath to stay grounded. Balance your energy. Give her attention, but also give her room to come toward you. This builds trust. It gives her the freedom to open up, to lean in naturally without feeling pressured. And when she feels safe enough to step closer, the connection deepens in a way that feels effortless. Here's your challenge. Practice calm desire in your next interaction. Don't over-explain, don't rush, don't over-pursue. Simply be present and let your energy speak louder than your words. Lock it in by dropping a comment below. I choose calm. Let it be your promise that from today forward, you'll stop begging for approval and start embodying the energy that naturally draws women closer. 6. Be the poet. When most men hear the phrase, be the poet, they imagine standing on stage, reciting Shakespeare, or impressing women with flowery quotes. But that's not what this is about. Being the poet has nothing to do with memorized lines and everything to do with how you make her feel.
Most men rely on logic when they speak to women. They list their accomplishments, talk about their plans, their careers, their strategies for the future. Logic might impress the mind, but it doesn't ignite desire. Because desire doesn't live in the mind, it lives in the senses, in emotion, in the unspoken current beneath the words. The poet understands this. He doesn't just describe life, he paints it. He creates a moment so vivid that she can feel it in her chest, not just hear it in her ears. Imagine two different conversations. The first man says, "The sunset looks nice tonight." The second man leans closer and whispers, "The horizon looks like fire tonight." Both are talking about the same thing, but one stimulates the mind while the other awakens the heart. Or take this simple example. Instead of casually asking, "How is your K?" the poet says, "Tell me the one moment today that made you laugh without holding back." See the difference? One invites routine answers, the other invites depth, emotion, connection, and that is where attraction truly lives. Women rarely remember the exact words you say, but they never forget how they felt in your presence. When you speak with depth, you awaken something inside her, something she didn't even know she was longing for. This isn't about being dramatic or over the top. It's about awareness. Notice the way her eyes light up when she talks about a childhood memory. Pay attention to the way her voice softens when she speaks of her dreams. Then reflect it back to her, not by fixing, not by judging, but by seeing her fully. That's poetry. Ordinary words give an extraordinary weight because they come from a place of presence. The Stoics understood this balance between strength and depth. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Your words are not tricks to impress someone. They are reflections of the man you are becoming. When your life is aligned with purpose, your voice carries a natural authority that no technique can fake. But here's the paradox. The poet doesn't try too hard. Trying too hard kills the magic. He allows silence. He slows down. He lets each word land like a stone dropped into still water, rippling outward. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. It's the pause before you speak, the weight behind your words, the way you listen completely when she shares. That's what makes her lean in closer. That's what makes her trust you. Think back to a time when someone said something simple, yet it stayed with you for days. Maybe it was just a single sentence, but it resonated because it was real, timely, and deeply felt. That's what being the poet is all about. Not vocabulary, but resonance. And here's the hidden gift. When you practice this, you reconnect with your own emotions. Too many men have been trained to shut theirs down. But women can feel when a man has depth, when he feels deeply, yet remains steady and strong. That combination of strength and vulnerability is magnetic. Here's how to start. Notice beauty in your daily life. Don't just see it. Describe it vividly, even to yourself. Ask better questions that go beyond surface-level conversations. Be fully present when she speaks. Your focus is the most powerful poetry you can offer. You don't need to be a writer or an artist. You simply need to live vividly and let that vividness flow into your words and actions. Because a true poet doesn't chase women. He inspires them. He doesn't force attraction. He creates space for it to grow naturally. Lock this lesson in by commenting, "I speak depth." Let it be your commitment to move beyond shallow interactions and into the realm of genuine connection. Because when you learn to speak to her soul, not just her ears, you become unforgettable, not through performance,
but through presence. 7. Presence over words. Most men believe that attraction lives in what they say, the clever one-liners, the witty comebacks, the perfect response that will supposedly unlock a woman's heart. But here's the reality. True attraction has far less to do with words and everything to do with presence. Think about it. Women rarely remember every sentence a man says. What stays with them is how they felt in his company. Your presence is like an unspoken language. It speaks louder than any rehearsed line ever could. Consider Ryan, 31, a man who's sharp, articulate, and fun to be around. On paper, he's the perfect dinner date. But Ryan has one problem. He cannot tolerate silence. Every pause feels like a failure, so he fills the space with more jokes, more stories, more random commentary. From the outside, nothing looks wrong. His date, Emily, 28, smiles and laughs politely. But beneath the surface, something is missing.
Ryan isn't truly connecting. He's performing. And performance always feels hollow. Now picture a different scene. At a weekend gathering, Emily meets Marcus. Marcus doesn't rush to impress. He begins with one thoughtful question, then listens with genuine focus. He doesn't interrupt. He holds steady eye contact, not intense or intimidating, but calm and grounding. When Emily speaks, he nods slowly, giving her words room to breathe. His stillness creates a safe space, inviting her to open up more. Later, when Emily goes home, whose memory lingers? Not Ryan, the entertainer, but Marcus, the man who simply was. This is the heart of the Stoic principle. Women are drawn to men who simply are, not men who constantly prove. When you're anxious and trying too hard, your energy scatters. Even if your words sound confident, she will feel the nervousness underneath. But when you are grounded, calm, and comfortable with silence, your presence becomes magnetic. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your inner world, whether chaotic or calm, bleeds into your presence. You cannot fake it. If your mind is frantic, she will sense it before you speak a word. If your mind is steady and rooted, she will feel that too. Here's a common mistake. Men think presence equals silence. But presence is not about being mute or distant. It's about depth. When you do speak, your words carry weight because they aren't buried in noise. Women are highly attuned to energy. They can instantly tell the difference between a man who listens with intention and a man who's just waiting for his turn to talk. The first builds connection. The second creates distance. So, how do you cultivate this kind of magnetic presence? Slow down. Stop rushing to fill every pause. Listen completely. Don't just hear her words, feel them. Hold eye contact with calm steadiness, not desperation. Breathe. A steady breath is the foundation of a steady mind. Think back to Ryan. If he had simply paused, asked one meaningful question, and truly listened, the entire evening could have shifted. Instead of being talked at, Emily would have felt seen and understood. Here's the Stoic takeaway. Women don't fall for the man with the best lines. They fall for the man whose very presence says, "I am enough." The man who isn't afraid of silence. The man who doesn't need to fill space with noise to prove his worth. Lock it in by dropping a comment below. I choose presence. Let it be your vow that from today forward, your calm presence will speak louder than your words, because true attraction isn't heard, it's felt. 8. The power of silence. Silence.
For most men, it feels like an enemy. When the conversation fades, panic sets in. They rush to fill every pause with jokes, stories, or explanations, terrified that if they stop talking, she'll lose interest, or worse, start judging them. But here's the paradox. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not a void to be covered up. It's a presence so solid, so grounded, that it doesn't need noise to prove itself. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, "Silence is safer than speech." He didn't mean you should never speak. He meant that silence protects you from careless words, from revealing weakness, and from losing control of your own energy. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can sense in an instant the difference between a man who is comfortable in his own skin and a man who's scrambling to earn her approval. When you can hold a pause without panic, you send a powerful message. I don't need to fill this space to have value. I don't need you to validate me. And that quiet confidence, it's magnetic. Picture this, a quiet moment on a date. The air is still. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, you simply breathe, relax your shoulders, and hold steady eye contact. That small, unhurried smile you give her communicates more than 1,000 clever words ever could. Suddenly, the silence itself becomes alive. She starts leaning forward, asking questions, sharing more of herself, not because you demanded it, but because your calmness invited it. You created a space she wanted to step into. Most men underestimate how powerful this is. They think connection comes from saying more, doing more, proving more. But real desire doesn't grow under constant noise. It grows in space.
Think of silence like oxygen to a fire. Too much noise and you smother the flame. Too much distance and the fire dies out. But just the right amount of space, the fire burns hotter, brighter, and longer. Here's a simple truth. Women are not drawn to the man who talks the most. They're drawn to the man whose stillness makes them curious. The man whose presence is so grounded, it leaves them wondering what's beneath the surface. That's where mystery begins, and mystery fuels attraction. When you master silence, you stop chasing her thoughts, you occupy them. She starts replaying that glance you gave, that pause you held, that feeling she couldn't quite name. So how do you cultivate this stoic power in your daily life? Practice stillness. When you feel anxious, pause and take a slow, deep breath. Let moments breathe. Don't rush to reply to every text or fill every second with chatter. Observe more than you speak. This makes your words more powerful when you do choose to speak. Hold your frame, relax your body language, steady your gaze, and let her feel your presence. Here's your challenge. The next time you're tempted to rush into noise, resist. Let the silence stretch for just a moment longer than feels comfortable. You'll notice something amazing. She'll start leaning in, investing more, and feeling the pull of your unspoken strength. Drop a comment below with the words, "I master silence." Make it your declaration that from today forward, you'll use quiet not as avoidance, but as power. Because when you master silence, you don't just create attraction, you create mystery and desire that last. 9. Stillness creates fire. Most men believe that attraction comes from movement, more talking, more showing off, more effort to impress. But here's the truth. Sometimes the most powerful spark comes from doing less. Stillness has its own magnetic force. When a man is calm, grounded, and unshaken, he radiates a confidence that no flashy move can fake. It's a silent signal that says,
I am enough, exactly as I am. That energy draws women in naturally, because in a world full of frantic noise, a man's stillness feels like a rare refuge. Picture David, 35, at a rooftop bar with friends. Music plays, laughter fills the air. Other men pace, scan the room nervously, and force conversation just to seem interesting. But David? He leans back in his chair, relaxed, sipping his drink with ease. He isn't trying to be noticed. He's simply enjoying the moment, fully at peace in his own skin. Then Laura, 29, walks over with a playful smile. David doesn't rush to fill the space with words or to prove himself. He simply listens, letting the conversation breathe. His stillness does the work for him. This is the fire of stillness. It's not passive. It's not about doing nothing. It's about holding your ground, letting the natural tension rise, and resisting the urge to break it with nervous action. Too many men mistake stillness for weakness. In reality, it's the exact opposite. Stillness is strength under control. It shows that you are not ruled by external chaos, that you own your energy. Women can feel this instantly. They can sense when a man is performing versus when he's simply being. And when they encounter a man who is genuinely steady, they're drawn in like moths to a flame. That flame isn't wild or chaotic. It's deep, powerful, and magnetic. Think of stillness like the space between heartbeats in music. Those tiny pauses don't weaken the rhythm, they give it power. In the same way, your calm presence gives every glance, every word, every touch more impact. A single, slow smile delivered with intention can create more chemistry than hours of forced conversation. This is why so many fleeting relationships burn out quickly. Too much frantic energy, too much movement, too little mystery. But when you stand still, calm, composed, and unshaken, you create space for desire to grow. Here's how to bring this into your life. When you walk into a room, pause before speaking. Let your energy settle before your words. In conversation, resist the urge to rush. Allow tension to rise naturally. Let her lean in to close the gap. When chaos erupts, stay centered. Your steadiness will make you unforgettable. Women aren't drawn to the loudest man in the room. They're drawn to the man whose quiet strength makes them wonder. The one who doesn't need to perform because his very presence sparks curiosity. Lock this lesson in by dropping a comment below. I own my energy. Let it be your reminder that from today forward, your stillness is your power. Because when you master the fire of stillness, you don't just create attraction, you command it effortlessly. 10. Unforgettable without trying.
When a man fully embodies his masculine presence, he doesn't need flashy tricks or rehearsed lines to make an impact. He becomes unforgettable simply by being grounded in who he truly is. Most men think women remember the grand gestures, the flowers, the perfect date, the funny story they told at dinner. But those fade like smoke. What lingers isn't what you did, it's how she felt in your presence. A calm gaze across the table, the steadiness in your voice when life felt chaotic, the way she could breathe easier just by standing next to you. These are the memories that etch themselves into her heart. Consider Michael, 36. For years, he relied on humor to win women over. He was the life of the party, always making everyone laugh. Women enjoyed his company in the moment, but when the night ended, so did their interest. Then, Michael made a shift. He stopped performing and started listening. Instead of filling silence with noise, he let his calm strength do the talking. And something amazing happened. One day, Emma, a woman he had been seeing quietly, said, "I couldn't stop thinking about you, not because of what you said,
but because of how I felt when I was with you. That's what unforgettable looks like. It bypasses logic and sinks deep into the soul. The Stoics knew this truth centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your inner world always bleeds into your outer world. If your thoughts are restless, women will sense it. If your mind is steady, calm, and purposeful, she will feel safe and drawn to you without knowing why. Being unforgettable isn't about adding more jokes, more effort, more flash. It's about subtracting the noise and standing firm in your essence. Stop proving, stop performing. Simply be, and let that quiet confidence ripple through every interaction. Here's the paradox. When you stop trying to make her remember you, she can't forget you. When you stop chasing, you become the man she secretly longs to follow. This is the essence of Stoic leadership, not through force, but through presence. So ask yourself, when she thinks of you a year from now, what will linger in her heart? Will you be just another fleeting memory, or will you be the rare man she cannot forget? Lock it in by dropping a comment below. I choose presence. Make it your declaration to embody stillness, depth, and unshakable strength. Because real men don't chase, they inspire loyalty through who they are. This is how you stop blending into the noise of the world and start becoming a man of timeless impact. 11. The legacy of the Stoic man. There's one final lesson, a principle that ties everything together. Live for something greater than yourself. Most men lose their way because they make women, relationships, or external validation the center of their world. They believe if they can just win her heart, everything else will fall into place. But here's the truth. When you make one person the foundation of your purpose, you build on shaky ground. And when that person leaves, your entire world collapses. The Stoics taught a different path. Marcus Aurelius didn't just speak about discipline for his own sake. He lived for Rome, for justice, for a vision far larger than himself. When you stand for something greater, you naturally become magnetic because your energy is no longer tied to her approval. She sees a man on a mission, and that mission inspires her to follow. Consider Anthony, a 34-year-old teacher. For years, his relationships were filled with frustration. He poured all his energy into pleasing women, constantly adjusting himself to earn love. But no matter how much he gave, they always drifted away. One day, after a painful breakup, Anthony made a decision. He stopped living to impress and started living to impact. He began mentoring troubled teens in his city, building a program that gave kids hope and direction. As he poured himself into this purpose, his energy shifted. He didn't chase anymore. He didn't need constant reassurance. He was centered, and his presence spoke louder than words. The next woman who entered his life didn't fall for him because of what he did for her. She fell for the man he had become, a man on a mission. Here's the Stoic truth. When you align your life with a higher purpose, women feel it. It's not about using purpose as a strategy to get her attention. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally commands respect. This is why the strongest relationships are built on parallel paths, not desperate dependence. She chooses you not because she completes you, but because she admires the world you're building, and together you grow. So how do you embody this principle? Identify your cause. What problem would you fight to solve even if no one was watching? Dedicate time to mastery. A man who develops his mind and skills radiates unshakable confidence. Serve something bigger. Whether it's your family, community, or a dream, let it guide your decisions.
When you live this way, you'll notice a shift. Conversations become deeper. Your presence becomes heavier, more meaningful. Women don't just see you as a partner, they see you as a leader. Here's your challenge.
Take a quiet moment today and ask yourself, what legacy am I building? What will remain long after I'm gone? Drop a comment below with the phrase, I live with purpose. Let it be your public vow that you will no longer live for fleeting approval, but for a mission that outlives you. Because the ultimate Stoic power isn't just attracting her heart, it's earning her respect by becoming the man you were always meant to be. Become the man she can't forget. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to memorize clever lines or to play games. It's to become the kind of man who doesn't need to chase because his presence speaks louder than any words. Women don't walk away because you didn't do enough for them. They walk away because you gave too much of the wrong things. Too much chasing, too much overgiving, too much of losing yourself in the process. The Stoic path isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. When you build inner strength, when you create space for mystery, when you live with purpose, you naturally become magnetic. She doesn't choose you because you begged for her love. She chooses you because she can feel your grounded energy and it inspires her to lean in. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So take a moment today and ask yourself, what kind of impact do you want to leave behind? Will you just be another memory or the rare man she can never forget? If today's message struck a chord, hit that like button and subscribe to Ancient Stoic Secrets. Turn on notifications so you never miss lessons that could transform your relationships and your life. Because Stoic men don't chase. We lead, we grow, and we rise together. I'll see you in the next video.